Chew, my name is McQuina, Chief Michael McQuina, Tai Hutwe of the Mocha tribe. I'm a direct descendant of Chief McQuina, who welcomed the first Chinese people to our Nootka Sound shores some 200 years ago.
My name is Marlene Liu. I was born in Cornell, BC. My father was C.D. Hoy, who became famous for his photographs of Chinese and Aboriginal people.
A few hundred years ago, we welcomed visitors and settlers and shared with them the richness of our territories. One story is that the first Chinese visitors arrived on our shores with Captain John Muir's ship as his shipbuilders and artisans.
The people of this land helped us grow roots. I believe this chapter of our history helps us build a greater understanding and recognition of our shared existence in this native land.
It is an honor to introduce the important history of British Columbia together. Thank you for sharing our stories.
I can't remember a time when I didn't know I was Chinese, Native, Welsh.
My Chinese name is Hong Wenheng, and my Aboriginal name is Kayapalana.
My name is Judy Joe, and my mom is Indian and Native, and my father is Chinese.我係叫金鳳，周金鳳。我係喺溫哥華出世嘅。My mom is from Lillooet, and I was born in Vancouver. And Dad is from China. He's a professional gambler. He worked in Chinatown. Other than that, I don't know much about them.
My name's Howard E. Grant. My Aboriginal name is Kayapalana. I'm named after my great-grandfather and my great-great-great-grandfather. Kayapalana, he was the war chief of the Salish Nation. He was the one that was responsible for meeting Captain Vancouver at the mouth of the Fraser River here. The land here was extremely fertile, so it was very, very good soil for market gardening. There was about a dozen or so Chinese farms that were here. With my father, who came to Canada as a very young man and took up residence and started to work the truck farming industry along with his relatives. He then somehow was introduced to my mother. He then proceeded to ask my grandfather for my mother's hand. She didn't want to be with my father, but arranged marriages on both sides of the Aboriginal and Asian culture is something that was normal. My mother, she's an Aboriginal person from Musqueam. Her roots go back to the beginning of our community, so it's a great history and indeed a very proud one that I draw my strength from.
I'm Hannah Yao, and
I'm Jordy Yao. I am, I guess, a quarter Chinese and a quarter Native on my dad's side of the family, and on my mom's side of the family, I guess we're Irish, Welsh, Catholic-y stuff.
my grandma's band was Secwepemc from Secwepemulu, which is in Kamloops, or Little Shuswap.
And my grandfather immigrated from China. He immigrated with his older brother, and he was 15 at the time.
My grandpa owned a restaurant, and I think they met there. And then my grandma ended up helping him run it. And once they were together and they got married, our granny was kicked out of the band and lost her status because she married a man who wasn't of Native descent.
When I was 5, just before I start school, went back to China with my father, and I stayed there on my own with my stepfamily. And I live in the farm, the village, and Canton. Very, very tough years to live in China with the stepfamily because I was an outsider. They never liked me. I was beaten every single day, physically, and I was just their slave. 所以我一到我14歲，我自己走啦，一路走。不過我都要走咗幾次，我先至得成功。I have my old passport, and which my stepmother locked it up, so I have to steal it back from her. By the time I got to Hong Kong, and first thing I did is I went to the immigration. But this guy, right away, he looked at my passport and he looked at me and he said, "Where did you steal that passport?" Right away he accused me. I have nothing to lose, right? So I started raising my voice. That's one thing about me. I don't back down and I don't give up. So I was raising my voice and all that, and I stuffed that passport right back in his face, and I said, "Take a lot of rock." Blah, 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 blah. So anyway. 我翻嚟嗰陣，因為我係重新嚟過啊。因為點解咧？嗱，我又唔識英文喎，又唔識人喎，係嘛？而家我翻嚟咧，我嗰啲路牌，嗰條咩街我都唔知喎，唔識喎，搭咩巴士我又唔識喎。有時你一擰歪面碰緊呢度牆，擰歪呢邊又碰緊呢個牆，因為你唔識啊嘛。所以咧，我係一個新移民嚟㗎。到我翻嚟嗰陣，我雖然係大部分都係屬於中國人，但中國唔係我一個家嚟，唔係我嘅家庭嚟嘅。
The landscape's changed dramatically, from growing up as a little boy here. But if you looked around and could try to imagine that living here, there would be a number of longhouses that were located here. You'd hear the drum beats late at night. When my uncles and my father's family first came here, they would hear these drum beats. So they asked the old people, would it be possible if we could come down and see what's happening? They welcomed them with open arms to come into our traditional longhouse and see what our cultural ceremonies were and activities that were being conducted. The cultures of both communities were very similar in the sense of spiritual and more egalitarian, so that you got to appreciate each other. It was a harmonious relationship that was developed.
Apparently we have relatives in Chinatown and Kamloops, but we don't really.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I was shocked to find this out too.
Oh.
Because apparently Dad met them a few times, but when Grandpa married Granny,
Did they disconnect from him too?
they didn't he was still cool. They just didn't like her.
When I first started to look into my mother's side of the family, and everybody said, "You're Native." And I said, "No, I'm not." Because from what I remember, when I was working down in Chinatown, and there's a lady came in with a little boy and said, "Come up to me." At that time, I don't speak English. And she came up to me and she said, something about mother. And she kept pointing herself and pointing to me and said, she's mother. And I said, no, 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 my mother died. She handed me an envelope with $20 bills in it, with her name and address and phone number. And, well, I don't know her. It doesn't mean anything to me. And if she's my mother, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I was really, really bitter, angry about it, because she abandoned me.
When my father arrived into Canada, you have to not only have a job to survive, but any kinds of monies that you're able to acquire. A large portion of that was to pay off your debt, your head tax, your room and board, and then sending money back to China for number one wife, and as well for looking after his mother, who was still alive at that time, yeah, which left very little for the family that he had here in Canada. He worked for Jim Koo Wholesale at one time. Early mornings we would get up, he'd be driving on his route, still be tired, so I'd lay in his lap and he'd be shifting his gears, and we'd go for an early morning breakfast together kind of thing, you know, so those are cherished memories. And even though I was very proud of my father, there was no lifeline provided to me from my Chinese side. I couldn't lay down any roots. I don't know where my father was from. I didn't know what my real name was. You know, it presented some challenges in that sense to say that, who am I on the Chinese side? Everything about Musqueam, about my Aboriginal side, was exposed to me. I knew who my great-grandfathers, my great-great-great-grandfathers were. It was something to be proud of, and there was a sense of history. My relatives on my father's side were very embracing, but the general Chinese community also had strong feelings in regards to, is he a pure Chinese person or not? And if not, then I was considered or felt inferior.
Oh, I was angry at both of them. Yeah, and I said to my children, I had you, and I said, you guys mean the world to me. You're my life. And I said, how could you leave your children behind somewhere? Then until friends and said to me, you should look for your family. Find them. I went through this 15 years, on and off for 15 years.
We never met our grandfather at all because
No,
he
he died
died when
before we
my
were
dad was 18, and I didn't know my grandma. Well, I did until I was 1, but I don't remember that.
When I ended up in Vancouver at UBC, then I started meeting all these Chinese people, and because there's such a huge Chinese population in Vancouver, and I ended up finding out that I had all this stuff in common with them that I guess my dad must have inherited from his family. And I'm like, oh, well, you like Haw Flakes too, and just sort of like, oh, you know Chinese New Year, and you get the red envelopes with the money in it on Chinese New Year and things like that. And just sort of like all these little things sort of ended up being like, oh yeah, and then we found out we had all this in common. And then I sort of found out more about the Chinese side of my heritage, and I guess that's why I kind of end up feeling a little bit closer on that side.
I built my own little family, and I had 2 kids, and I don't want a marriage. I don't want a husband because when everything that comes back into China, that I got 10 people in the family dominate me. I don't want anybody like that. In fact, when I left China, the day I left China, and I said, nobody's gonna lay a hand on me. And so far, so good. But I like to find out my background. So finally, until I retire, then I thought, okay. And my birth certificate, and they say, she's from Leung. And her name is Kate Thompson. So I went there. I drove up to Leung. I literally knocked on every door. On December 21st, I got 1 phone call. And this lady from Leung, and she said, I think I know who you belong to. After New Year, she sent me a list of phone numbers and name and all that. And I phoned the local phone number first, explain who I am and who I'm looking for. And she kept, the whole time, she said, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, no. And finally, at the end of the conversation, I said to her, and I said, can you help me? Do you know her? And she said, yes, I'm your cousin. I said, that's it. My search is over. I was so excited. I was jumping up and down on that phone. And she said, yeah. She was so calm. And here I am. And I also said to her, and I said, I remember this lady came down to see me. She had a little boy. I said, so I must have a brother somewhere. And she said to me, you have lots of brothers and sisters. And I was like, wow, really? I mean, all my life I'm alone. And all of a sudden I have all these families.
I personally have never felt that I was treated differently until probably in late high school, at which point you started getting the question, which is always really awkwardly phrased.
So what are you?
Exactly, yeah.
I think I've been connected more with my Aboriginal culture because the friends that I have grown close with and the schools that I've gone to. At Cedar, which is the elementary school I went to, that's where a lot of the First Nations kids from Campbell River went. I also played on the Aboriginal Team BC for soccer in the North American Indigenous Games. I play in a lot of native soccer tournaments all over the island and in Vancouver as well, actually. I think our parents have always made it really known what ethnicity we are, and I don't think I ever thought it was really important until I got older and people were so surprised about how multicultural I was.
All my brothers and sisters, I have really tough time to meet them. And for some reason, they don't want to meet. And, but I kept pushing it and pushing it. And we still don't have a close relationship, but we talk every now and then. And apparently my mother died in 97, 90, yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Hunkaminam person. I am a Coast Salish Musqueam Indian who is proud that he also has a Chinese heritage, a Chinese blood flowing through his veins, you know, and that his children who are quarter and his grandchildren who are 1/8 Chinese still have a hint of Oriental features to them that make them very, very beautiful children, you know. And thirdly, I'm proud to be from British Columbia and a Canadian person.
I got the best gene of the Chinese and the Native, the surviving kid. Really. And come out not on top of the world, but I'm okay, right? So I'm sitting here and trying to tell somebody about that. So yeah, I'm okay. And yeah, thank you for listening, you guys.